Michelle, and this is Untitled Chapter. Today I want to go over some of the things I've been working on, but this video is going to have also other scenes from our life. It's gardening season here in Southern Ontario, which keeps me really busy. Gardening is my first love. So most of my spare time, which is now quite limited, is spent working in the garden, hence the overalls. So I'll start with what I'm wearing today, and the eggs, I better move them, I'm going to break them. On my way back here, I had to go grab the eggs from the girls, so I'll put these down here so I don't break them. So I'm outside in my urban backyard. It's a large lot, so you know, it's quite private, but I do have neighbors. I hear them up the hill. Oh, I think he's coming down here actually. 1 minute. Okay, he's gone. So there was my hopes of doing this all in one shot, but anyway. Their house is quite far, but they have 2 young dogs, and anyhow, they can be a little bit noisy. And then my hens are just sort of over there. Anything could happen. My own dogs are inside, so hopefully they'll be quiet. So yeah, I'm gonna take a little minute here to do a little bit of intro and talk about what I'm wearing, and then I'm just gonna dive into the knitting. So yeah, my name is Michelle, as I mentioned. I live in a small house with a big property in Southern Ontario. We keep chickens, I knit a lot, but and I garden a lot, but recently I have taken a real full-time day job, which was different than when I was self-employed. I was self-employed for quite a few years, and so I could, you know, choose my days and plan my own days, and now my days are kind of eaten up with work. So I don't get to knit as much as I'd like, or as much as I used to, but I still want to keep this going. I also really love spinning. I might even like spinning more than knitting, and I think I'm actually better at spinning than I am at knitting. Yeah, I think so. Like, I really love the process of it. I love the result, and for me, once a skein is finished, that's it. Like, I don't even have necessarily a plan for it. I just love the beauty of it as it is. So yeah, I have probably more hobbies than I can manage working full time. But I'm sure a lot of people have the same issue. Yeah, so today I'm just sitting out here. I'm going to do this before everybody wakes up and starts mowing their lawns and all the kids come outside. It's quite early. Yeah, I'm wearing a pretty old sweater. This is the Shepherd hoodie. I don't remember the maker. I made this probably 10 years ago. It's finished. Look at this elbow. It's my house sweater that I wear around the house. It has antler buttons, and it's an all-over cable. It's a long sweater, and it has a nice moss stitch hood. And I made this a really long time ago out of Cascade 220. It's held up pretty well. I think a puppy actually got to it here, so one of the buttonholes needs repairing. It's probably missing more buttons than it has. I think it only has 3 buttons out of 6 left, because yeah, if a dog gets a hold of an antler, they just eat it. So this sweater's been through the ringer. I would say this is like my house coat. You know, I just wear it all the time if it's chilly in the morning. I love it. I also have my hand-dyed overalls on. I bought 2 pairs of these a few years ago from Angela Studios. I wear them anytime that I'm not leaving the property and I'm going to be working, so for painting or gardening or anything like that. They have loads of pockets. Yeah, and they're nice and tough, and I can garden and be comfortable all day. So that's what I'm wearing. Another thing I wanted to talk about was I heard a few people wonder how to say au fil des jours. So it's au fil des jours. And it's just a French expression actually, and what it means is as the days go on, as the days go by. Fil means like a string, and I thought it was a good play on words because to make yarn is also called filer. So you're making fil, you're making string, and filer is the verb of spinning in French. So au fil des jours means as the days go on, and I thought that this was a good name for this podcast. We've used that name for other things too, like we used to sell at craft fairs and things when the kids were smaller, and we used the name au fil des jours because instead of choosing a specific craft or a specific art to name our little operation, I think that we have too many balls in the air and we do too many things. So au fil des jours kind of just means here's what, you know, as the days go on, here's a sample of our life. So au fil des jours, and I don't plan on changing it, and yeah, it's a name that's been here in our family for a long time. Yeah, so I'll get started with the knitting. So as I mentioned, I've been working a lot, so I don't have that much new to share. I probably frogged more projects than I cast on in the last month. Unfortunately, my socks for the spin to sock, Cary, I don't know. My wool mitten has a sock spin along, and now a mitten spin along. I'll put the information here and down below. And I did join the sock spin along. I spun, and then what happened was the yarn actually, I wanted to spin it quite densely because it was quite a soft yarn. But then I knit it too densely, so I undid them. I have to start again. So I'd like to finish these two large projects before it gets hot, and then I will knit all the small things with mittens and socks probably for the rest of the summer, because it's nice to sit back here by the fire with just a small thing on my lap. Sorry, I'm saying a lot. Sorry. So I will share what I do have. So last episode, actually I should start with this one. Last episode I did, where's my bag here? Spun fiber arts. Last episode I did, I had started this, and I think I had just started the yoke. Sorry, the hens are going to be doing hen things. I had just started the yoke, so I'm almost done with my winter woods sweater. It is full of dog hair because that's what I do. I huddle up with my dogs and I knit. I have a white dog and a black dog, so there's no way to have any garment that doesn't have dog hair on it. I'm trying to shake it off. Anyhow, here it is. So I did the yoke and the body, and now I'm starting on one of the sleeves. It's a lovely pattern. It's I love the design, and it's, you know, just a really easy and intuitive pattern once you get past the charts. It's not hard at all. I kind of wanted to do it with colors, but maybe I'll just knit another one. This is all stash yarn. The brown yarn here, I'm not going to say it right here. It's bare naked wool. Sorry, the chickens are fighting over nest boxes. It's bare naked wool. I think it's called Breakfast DK. I don't know if she still makes it. So this was actually another sweater once upon a time. I think I did explain that last video, but this was another sweater, and it had just been loved to death, and I couldn't mend it anymore. So I salvaged what was still good, and because it's such a nice yarn, I mean, it doesn't look, it's not pilled, it's nothing. It doesn't look reused in any way. And then the white is organic lamb from a local producer here, and my last angora rabbit that passed quite a few years ago now, pistache, that it was hand spun. You can see I don't know if you can see a little bit of fuzz there. So then what's going to happen is this, I haven't blocked it yet, but this color work is going to puff out a little bit. I think I had Donna blend this, and I think she blended it at 13% angora for the organic lamb. So even though it's not a huge amount of angora, it doesn't take a lot for it to really bloom. Pistache was also an English angora, and she was like a tan color, a pale tan, but mixed with the white lamb, it's just like a warm white. So yeah, that's my Winter Woods sweater by Jessica. I'm not going to remember. I will put all her information here. She makes beautiful sweaters, beautiful patterns. She has a podcast too, but it's early and it's not working. Yeah. So even though this is not, I mean, I really envy everyone's spring and winter, spring and summer knits and all the beautiful colors. I'm a slow knitter, and I mostly wear knits in the winter. So I'm probably just, I don't know if I'll ever get around to making summer knits. I would like to. I guess I'd have to make them in the winter for the summer, which, yeah. So this is a pullover that will be done soon. I think it will look nice with a pair of dress pants for work, or I can wear it just with jeans and keep it as a casual sweater. I'm quite pleased with this. The brown yarn does contain a bit of silk in it, so it even for a very woolly wool, like a very woolen spun lightweight wool, it does have just a tiny bit of drape. So I think it'll look nice. So that's one. Now that I'm doing the sleeves, I feel like it's done. So yeah, in the evening by the fire, this has been going quite quickly. Another thing I was hoping to get done while I still needed it, the office where I work, it's quite cold. It's really cold in the winter, and apparently the air conditioning is so cold in the summer. So I feel like I wear a lot of just button down, like a blouse or shirts, and I'm always cold. It doesn't matter what temperature it is outside. So I wanted to make one of these little vests that I've been seeing everywhere. So I started this one. It's loosely based on a picture I saw, so I'm kind of making up the pattern. So we shall see. The yarn I'm using is this one. This is a handspun yarn from a mystery box that I bought a few years ago from Wellington Fibers. It's just mystery fiber, that's all it said. And it just looks like, you know, all the stuff that's left in your drum carter after a good day. So there's all kinds of colors in there. I don't know if you can see. It's coming up a bit cooler and bluer here. In real life, it almost looks a bit green. The blue is really standing out. So there's like an olive green, there's flecks of purple, orange, teal, all kinds of things. It's all just mixed up. I'm hoping to make a slightly oversized, more square, I guess you call them slipovers, to wear dress shirts underneath. So I saw one, it was a pattern, but it was made in pieces, this pattern, and I don't think they had it available in English. So I've just been going by the image. Yeah, so I did a 2x2 rib at the bottom, then I did braid, and now I'm doing a 4x1 rib for the body. And then there's not a huge, there's not a V or anything, it's just kind of a shallow, can I say shallow neckline sort of, and then it squares off, and a little bit of work at the armholes. So hopefully this is gonna work. When I look at it on the needles, I think, oh, it's not gonna fit, but when I take it off the needles, it does. I think that this has a fair bit of mohair in it, being that it's from Wellington Fibers. I can see that there's quite a bit that's gonna bloom out of here. So I think that'll look really good and hopefully keep me warmer. I don't think I'll wear it in the summer, but in the fall it'll be really nice. So I have been working on this one. It's kind of mindless right now until I get to the armholes, which I really need a lot of mindless knitting right now, because by the time I pick up my needles, I'm pretty tired, and I manage like a row or two and then I fall asleep. Chickens, sorry, I keep getting distracted. So that's it for knitting. I don't have any finished objects. I don't have any new cast-ons. That's all I've been knitting. I have, however, been spinning a fair bit compared to knitting, I guess. Currently, I am working on some 100% angora from Sova's last coat, and I would like to try, I don't know if I'll do it 1-ply or maybe like a really thin 2-ply. I'd like to try dyeing it. I've never dyed angora, so I have some acorns and I have some onion skins and I have some avocado, so I was thinking I might like to try making some little skeins and dyeing them and see how that turns out. She is a warm gray, she's chestnut, so it's like really light brown or warm gray. So I think that will look really good dyed. Yeah, let's see how that turns out. So I have been working on that. Another thing that I had finished was I started spinning my sidewalk chalk from Cary yarns. This is completely outside of my comfort zone. I don't buy colors this bright usually, but I don't know. It was a complete impulse. She posted, I bought it, that was it. This is some rambouillet from Cary yarns. I don't know if you can see her label here. She's a dyer here in Ontario. And yeah, this one's called Sidewalk Chalk. So what I decided to do with it is I split it into, because the color changes are pretty short, I decided to split it into sort of color groups before spinning it, so that I would get brighter pops of color. I didn't want the colors to all sort of meld together. And then I spun it as a thick and thin single, but then I held a lot of Bosco gray angora throughout. Then I thread plied it. So what I got was, oops, that's another one. So what I got was this. It's pretty nice. So the the angora's already starting to fluff up. It's super squishy, it's really light. It's really beautiful. I'm not sure what I'm gonna do with it. I do have little, ideas that I should start selling some. And I still have 200 grams more of sidewalk chalk. I bought 3 braids. So I'm thinking I might do the other 2 as chain ply to a little bit maintain the colors, but in a more traditional, really thin 3-ply to go with this. And it'll be a nice set, maybe. I think it would make a nice shawl or a nice little cowl. It will not be hard wearing, so nothing like, I wouldn't put this in a sweater or mittens or anything. I don't think it's a good idea. These little puffs here are really loosely, these little puffs like this, super soft, and it's too delicate really for any kind of hard wearing. But it'd be a great hat, a great cowl. Yeah. I don't know, maybe I should open a little shop. I do want to start selling some rabbit, and I'm happy if anybody here wants some angora fiber, I'm happy to connect with you and get you some. But 2 angoras produce way more fiber than I can ever use on my own. So the reason I did this one is because this one here was an experiment, and I did knit my friend a cowl a little while back out of this one. So this was a rabbit, merino, and organic lamb, local lamb, different colorways. And this one I did do sort of a, I think it was just reverse stockinette cowl. I was trying to come up with a way to spin the angora without it being so heavy. Sometimes when people put a high percentage of angora, it just feels kind of like alpaca. It just hangs, and it has zero memory, so it just hangs, and it's, it just doesn't show its best qualities. So I think pairing it with really fluffy fine wools, weighs nothing. Like it weighs absolutely nothing. And that cowl was really nice, and it didn't weigh anything either. It was just this really lightweight. So you get all of the softness without that, you know, too much drape, I think. Too much hanging, heavy yarn. It's like a cloud. It doesn't weigh anything. So that's all I had today. Oh yeah, I guess I had this one too to show. So this one was bouclé. This one was like a thread spun. And this one was just traditional 2-ply. Same. I carded them the same. But you can see how this one's a lot. And this one's so light. Isn't that neat? This one's bloomed quite a bit. I think this will make a nice hat. I don't know if you can see all the colors in there. And the thing is to me, once it looks like this, I'm like, it's done. I can just put it in a bowl and look at it, pet it. I don't even know what I would make with it. So I think it's probably time for me to pass some of this stuff on and sell some of it, because it's kind of just sitting here, sort of being neglected. And I really, really love spinning. I have a fair bit of this. So I guess I just gotta make a shop or a website or something. I've heard awful things from other vendors happening at Etsy. So now because I kind of thought, oh, I'll just start my Etsy shop back up. I did have a little Etsy shop for a bit. Oh, there's the dogs. That's not my dogs. I did have a little Etsy shop for a bit, but then now I think they've just added so many policies and made things so complicated, and it's so big that I'm not sure. And I'm not sure, there's such a small margin on selling handspun yarn. Oh, there they are. There's such a small margin on selling handspun yarn that by the time I pay all the fees for these sort of selling platforms, is it even worth it? I don't, you know. Not that it's ever worth it, really, to sell any yarn or knitting. It's just a labor of love, I suppose. But I do love spinning, and I don't plan on, there's no way I could use it all. So if you have any ideas for me, I'd love to hear them. Yeah. I mean, spinning outside is also lovely in the summer. I'd like to spend a lot more time spinning. Then what do I do with all that yarn? Anyway, that's all I had for today. I'm going to put all kinds of footage. I'm not sure if I've already put it in at this point or if I'm putting it in at the end, but I thought I would just put footage of the last month and a bit. I guess it's been probably 2 months since I've made a video, maybe more. We've had a hatch. We had little quail chicks hatch. We raise a bunch of fancy quail. They're Coturnix quail, but a bunch of fancy colors. And what else am I putting in there? Oh, my little opinions about tomatoes. Lots of people here are gardeners, and you know, in the knitting world are also gardeners. And I belong to a few garden groups, and I see people, they buy these huge tomato plants before it's warm enough to put them in the ground, and then they're stuck with this huge plant in a tiny pot that's putting out fruit because it thinks it's dying. And I used to do that too, and now I know better. Last year we put our tomatoes in the ground, I want to say the first week of June, and they just each had one set of leaves, like true leaves. And I don't know how many hundreds of pounds of tomatoes we got. They catch up, is I guess what I'm saying. So tomatoes are in the nightshade family. They grow in the shade of night. They grow at night. And so the nighttime temperatures have to be really warm, 14 degrees Celsius and up. So if it's cold at night, they don't grow. And so if you grow them early and you keep them in your house, they're growing. And then if you set them out in the spring, they get quite a bit of shock. And if they're all root bound, then they got to put out new roots. So it kind of sets them back. So if you were to plant a tiny tomato seedling beside a big established tomato plant at the same time, say first week of June for an Ontario here, dogs are down here, my neighbor's dogs. If you plant them together, I guarantee that by August they look the same, or even the seedling will surpass the little potted tomato. So don't be afraid of buying small tomato seedlings, I guess is what I'm saying, or growing tomatoes yourself. And I know lots of farmers here locally, this is almost like blasphemy. They just put tomato seeds in the ground in June, first week of June, put a seed in the ground. It seems nutty, right? Compared to what the marketing of you have to buy these huge established tomato plants. You don't. You'll get tomatoes. As soon as the nights are warm enough, it'll grow. They grow so much overnight that they'll catch up. Anyways, that's my little lesson on tomatoes. If you're still here, thanks for hanging out. Yeah, I'm sorry these couldn't be more polished. I'm not really, today's a vacation day here in Canada, so it's quiet and I have time and I'm not at the office. But I don't think that I could commit to really nice polished videos at any time. It's always sort of haphazard and at the last minute, and it just is what it is. So it's probably better to just be authentic and put a video out every now and again and connect with people in the fiber world than sit and ruminate about how perfect it's gonna look, right? Anyhow, thanks for hanging out this morning, and yeah, I hope you enjoy this beautiful spring weather. Bye. Good morning. It's nice and early on Sunday morning, and the garden is coming along, and I can't really identify much. We have all of these pots. I can talk about that more when they're planted up, but since we decided to give up, where's my girls? Since we decided to give up the field this year, because it was a lot of work, we decided to really invest in a lot of these. These are 7-gallon, and we also have a stack of 15-gallon grow pots that are like nursery pots, so that we can hopefully still grow lots of food without having to leave here and toil away in the field. And if you've never been here, I guess you wouldn't know, we grow lots of food on our small property in southwestern Ontario. We have a decent sized property for the city, still very small compared to a proper farm property. We have a lot of these big raised beds. This one is, I think, 10 by 3.5. It's quite large. It's been here a long time now. We have strawberries established in here, and I kind of keep it as a safe spot from the hens to start seedlings. In here I have a whole bunch of little cabbage seedlings. You can see. There's no way we're going to have room to grow all these cabbages. Maybe we'll eat some of them as sprouts. But what I really wanted to show you today, and I have all my dahlias over there too. Anyway, what I really wanted to show you was this. So we try to start all of our seedlings ourselves for all sorts of reasons, but we don't have a greenhouse. So one of the things I've been doing the last few years to grow seedlings and keep them safe from the cold and keep them warm is buy a couple of these huge bins. I don't know if you can see how huge. Pretty large bin, and then inside keep all our seedlings. And during the day, like today's a nice day, I'll probably leave the lid ajar, or maybe even take the lid off completely. And there's all our tomato babies.